Hey everyone, welcome back to English with Amrita. In today's video, I'm going to share some important topics that you should focus on while you are on your journey to speaking in English fluently. I've seen a lot of students who ask me on my Instagram page in the comment section or in private messages or on YouTube channels or during our online classes that, hey ma'am, is grammar really important? We have heard that grammar is not that important. Well, if you're also under this same incorrect, wrong impression or notion, then I want to clarify right at the beginning of this video that grammar is the backbone of the English language. You cannot do without grammar. You cannot construct grammatically incorrect sentences and expect yourself to sound fluent and sound good when you're talking to anyone for that matter. And hence I am going to share some important grammar topics that you should be thorough with, that even if I ask you in the middle of the night, you should be in a position to answer that, right? That is the kind of hold I want you to have over grammar. And that's what we also do in our online classes, where we focus not just on speaking activities and speaking prompts and pronunciations, but also the basics and the fundamentals of grammar. So we are going to dive right into the important topics that you should be thoroughly prepared with. And in fact, I would recommend you to sit with a pen and paper, or if you have your mobile phone in hand, which I think you will, then just note down these topics. And if you're a student who believes in studying by themselves without joining any online or offline coaching, then these are the topics that you should focus on. Of course, if you join some classes, then it is the classes onus to teach you all of these important topics, right? So if you're the one who is going to study by himself or herself, or even if you're going to go and join some online classes, see to it that they teach you these important topics, especially if you are a beginner in the English language, right? If you're someone who is studying English since quite some time, and if you're the one who is struggling to speak in English, right? A lot of people say that I know how to read in English, I know how to write in English, I can write emails, but when it comes to speaking fluently, I'm not that great, or it scares the hell out of me when it comes to speaking in English. If you feel or go through the same emotions that I'm describing, then I think that is because your hold on grammar is not strong. There are no other reasons or problems. Of course, one can also be because you don't get that environment where everybody around you is speaking in English, or maybe you're in the school or college where people speak in a vernacular language, and hence you don't get that platform or you don't get enough opportunities to speak in English. But let me tell you something from my own story, from my own example, personal example. I was always good at grammar and I was always good at English, and in fact I was a bright student when I was in school, right? But in my school and until my 10th and 12th, I never got any opportunities to speak in English. But when I entered engineering college, I got a lot of opportunities, and just because my foundation was strong, it was easier for me to transition from someone who was not speaking in English to someone who confidently and fluently started speaking in English. And that was because the foundation was in place already, right? Had my foundation not been in place, then it would have taken time for me to first understand the language and the nuances of the language and then speak that language in front of others. But just because I was thorough with all my concepts and I know English really well, I'd read also enough by then. So because of these reasons, when I got the opportunities to speak, I simply grabbed those. Then the only thing that I required was a little bit of confidence inside me, and I gave it my all, and I always ended up performing well, be it during speech competitions or paper presentations or hosting certain events in my college. And since then I've not looked back, right? So I would like to tell you that that has happened because of grammar and because of my foundation being strong. Right now, if you're not a beginner and you think you're an intermediate student, but still if you're facing this problem of not being able to speak in front of others, there could only be two reasons behind it, as I mentioned. One could be lack of confidence and other could be lack of subject knowledge, right? And hence I want to give you all the topics today which are important for you to increase and improve your knowledge of the subject, which is knowledge of grammar in English, right? Let's look at the first few important topics, which are parts of speech. Now, parts of speech are generally 8 to 9, the ninth one being the articles. All the parts of speech may not be important necessarily, right? It's important to have knowledge of all of them. For example, interjections may not be used as much as verbs are used, right? So when it comes to grammar, there are different topics which hold different level of significance. Not all the topics are the same level, right? So when it comes to verbs, adjectives and adverbs, they stand far above than interjections, right? Conjunctions are again important because they help you to link sentences. Okay, so let's go one by one. Now before that, just a small request. If you're a new visitor and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then I would request you to please check out some of my other videos. If you like my videos, if you think that my content is useful and is going to help you in the future, then please don't forget to hit the small subscribe button and also the bell icon to get notifications every time I release videos. Also, I have a huge community on Instagram, 150,000 students approximately on Instagram, and you can visit that page and you will get updates on English language every single day, right? So if you want to keep in touch with the English language, you can follow me on Instagram as well. Now let's look at the topics, okay? When it comes to nouns, nouns are important. Pronouns are very important. Pronouns means he, she, it, you, we, right? Now there are different kinds of pronouns as well. For example, reflexive, which means mine or yours, right? So these things are also important because when you're describing something, for example, let's say I'm holding a bottle in my hand, right? Now this could be my bottle or this could be her bottle. So it's important for you to know how to describe whose bottle it is, right? That's when pronouns come into picture. Now, basics of pronouns is he, she, it, right? When it comes to gender, you should know that a person who is a boy or a man needs to have a pronoun he and not she, right? So this is super duper basic and hence pronouns are important. Adjectives are the words that are used to describe nouns, right? Which means a beautiful flower. Let me show you one. Here we have, right? A beautiful flower. So these are the words that are descriptive and hence adjectives play an important role when you want to make your English sound better rather than framing simple sentences. Next is adverbs, which are again important, okay? Do write them down because adverbs are again of different types and you need to be thorough with those. So when you want to describe something as how fast is it happening, for example, she's running quickly, right? Instead of saying she's running. Now running doesn't really define whether she's running quickly or slowly, but she ran fast or she's running quickly right now. So that means it is describing the action of how fast something is happening and hence adverbs are again important. Now, someone has the tendency to get angry. Now, depending on how that person gets angry or how much that person gets angry. For example, he frequently gets angry or she seldom gets angry. So these again are the words that are used to describe some action of getting angry and hence adverbs play an important role. The most important of all of these parts of speech are the verbs. Now verbs are classified into two types, right? Auxiliaries and the normal ones, the general ones. Auxiliaries, to be verbs, to have verbs and to do verbs. Am, is, are, was, were. To do means do, does, did, and to have verbs means have, has, had, right? These are super duper important. Write them down and then mark them with a red pen if you want. You should be absolutely thorough with these three auxiliary verb forms, okay? These three types of auxiliary verbs and they are subtypes, and you should always be able to identify if there's something wrong in a sentence when it comes to using these words. And again, the normal or the general verbs, transitive, intransitive, very important. Why are verbs so important? Because verbs are directly related to tenses. And tenses are the mother of all grammar, okay? They are the most important of all because they are used to describe when an event is happening or has happened or is going to happen in the future, right? So a tense changes form just because the verb used in the sentences changes forms, right? And hence verbs are critical out of all of these parts of speech. But again, I would say that the parts of speech that I'm describing are all important because every sentence that we speak in English is made up of these parts of speech, right? We put different things together to form a sentence, and each of the words in this sentence belongs to one or other of the parts of the speech that I'm mentioning, the 9 parts of speech, right? But out of them, interjections are not very important. Articles are again important. It's important to know that it's an elephant and not a elephant, right? So these are basics when it comes to speaking. So when you are speaking in English, and let's say you are at a managerial position in your company, and if you describe a elephant, someone who might be better than you at speaking will immediately catch your mistake because this is a common and basic grammatical concept of articles, a, and the, and hence this should be thoroughly prepared by you. Now moving on to the next ones, which is sentence construction, right? Sentence construction is nothing but word order in English, which means how should you be putting the words together in order to form a meaningful sentence, right? For example, Ram loves to play cricket, right? Now Ram is the subject here, the noun here, loves, right? Loves is a verb. To play cricket is a further description of what Ram loves doing. Now if I change the word order here, cricket loves Ram to play, right? The meaning changes and it just becomes a stupid nonsensical sentence because there is no actual meaning that is derived from this sentence, right? And hence sentence construction is extremely important. There are different kinds of sentences, but the basic ones which you should again be thorough with are declarative sentences and interrogative sentences. Declarative can again fall into affirmatives and negatives. I like chocolates, I don't like chocolates. She loves watermelons, she doesn't love watermelons, right? So these are the normal basic sentences in English, and if you're not thorough with these declarative, affirmatives and negative sentences, then I don't think you will ever feel comfortable to speak in English fluently. Why? Because the basics are not in place. So declarative sentences are important, interrogative are again important. Who is that girl, right? So we generally ask a lot of questions when we're speaking to our friends, to our family members, to our colleagues. So knowing the interrogative forms and how to form question sentences is again important. Third type is imperative sentences and exclamatory sentences, right? Again, exclamatory is what a beautiful place or what a beautiful villa. We may not always speak in such terms by using such exclamatory statements, and hence they become lesser important if you're a basic student. Once you move to intermediate and advanced level, yes, you can make your English sound more beautiful, advanced and flowery by using such exclamatory statements and words like hooray, wow, yippee, right? So these are interjections which can be added to your exclamatory sentences to make your speech sound advanced and better. Imperative sentences again important. For example, please pass the bottle to me is like an order and a request at the same time, right? So these are called imperative sentences and we do use them a lot while speaking in everyday English. So out of all the sentence types, I would say the first 3, apart from the exclamatory, are important and you should be thorough with them because you want to be able to speak in English fluently, right? That will only happen when you're thorough with these. Now, one important point that I missed in the parts of speech is conjunctions. Okay, conjunctions are the words that link together different ideas, different words, different statements, different phrases and different clauses. Okay, so if you do not know how to use conjunctions, what will happen is you will only speak in basic English. For example, you will say things like, my name is Amrita. I am an English teacher. I love teaching. I run online classes. I have an Instagram page. I have many students on my Instagram page, right? All of these are short and simple sentences. But with time, as you keep learning English, what will happen is you will want to make sentences that are a little more longer and complicated to an extent. Now, by complicated, I don't mean that your sentences should be such that they're not understood by your listeners, but by saying something like, I am Amrita and I am an English teacher, right? So we simply combined two simple short sentences using the conjunction and. Now these words like and, or, not only but also, either, or, etc. are basically the linking words that link two or more ideas together to make your sentences sound longer and better. For example, when you hear a basic student speaking, he or she might speak only in simple sentences. And to begin with, even I would advise you to speak in simple sentences. Once you're confident of speaking in simple sentences, then you move on to using such linking words in order to make your speech sound better and advanced. Now moving on to an important and the final topic which you should be thorough with is tenses. Now before that, again I want to dive into verbs. I didn't mention one very important aspect in verbs, which is modal verbs. Modal verbs are the ones that are commonly confused by students. They do not know how to use can, could, should, would, may, might, etc. And hence I would recommend you to thoroughly prepare with these, because you should know exactly when to use should, exactly when to use would, and a lot of these modals can be interchangeably used as well, depending on the situation and depending on how they sound. So you should know how strong a particular modal is in a particular situation. For example, you ought to bring the chair here, which means it's compulsory for you to bring the chair here, right? You can bring the chair here. When you say can, it's an option that you're giving the person, that it's up to you whether or not you want to get the chair here, right? So when you use these modals, they tell how important your message is, and hence modals are important when it comes to speaking in English fluently. Now moving to tenses. There are total 12 tenses. Ideally there are 3 tenses: present, past and future, correct? However, out of all the 12 tenses, 4 in each, 5 are the most important. Can you believe it? Out of 12, only 5 are most important, and out of all the speaking that we do and the reading that we do, 97% of the statements, according to a research, has found that these statements that we speak in everyday life belong to only 5 of these tenses. 97% of the statements that we speak. Now imagine how big that number is. So out of 12, even if you're prepared with 5 tenses thoroughly, you will be in a far better position than you are right now. The 5 important tenses are simple present tense, the most important of all, okay? Most of us speak in English using simple present tense, okay? That is used the most. Then comes simple past tense and then simple future tense. Once you're prepared with these 3 important tenses, then the 2 other important tenses are your present continuous tense and present perfect tense. That makes 97% of your speech. All the rest of the tenses are the ones that you can go through and keep practicing. But when you compare how important they are, as I told you from the numbers, it's quite obvious that they are not that important. Especially future perfect continuous, future perfect, hardly ever used while speaking or writing, okay? So prepare these 5 tenses, important, very, very important in fact, because they are going to determine how grammatically correct are your sentences while you're speaking in English. Last doubt that I want to clear for my students is when they ask me that, ma'am, please teach us active voice and passive voice. That's when I tell them that passive voice is not that important, active voice is very important. 80% of the statements that we speak in English are in active voice, and hence you should be prepared with active voice. But passive voice is just another way of saying it. Okay, it's a more polite way of saying it in certain situations. And we can dive into it if you join my online classes, where we'll explain you which are the ideal situations in which you can use passive voice and which are the situations in which active voice is better. right? So again, when it comes to these voices, it's important to know that active is more used than passive voice. Clauses and phrases and all is something that comes at the next level when you're an intermediate student or an advanced student. As I said, this video is specifically for beginners, the ones who are struggling to speak in English, and hence if you've watched this video till the end, I hope that you've noted down all these important topics. And if you're joining my online classes, I will certainly tell you that we'll cover all of these topics in the foundational course and in the intermediate course, so that by the time you reach the advanced course, you will be strongly prepared with the basics and foundational English. Now, last request, if you've watched till here and haven't yet subscribed, then you're doing some cheating, huh? So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this video with the basic learners at your home or with the friends who are struggling to speak in